everyone, I'm Kayla Huzar of Kayla Huzar Creative Services, and I am here to give you the next installment of the Women's Wellness Toolkit called Big Feelings. This particular exercise was inspired by my son this week. He had some pretty big feelings and we were able to talk them through, but sometimes we need another outlet. We don't always know the words, and in this case he didn't. He didn't know the words. He didn't know what to say to me when he was feeling so upset. His behavior was presenting as, well, let's be honest, defiant. And I knew that there was something deeper going on. And so I put on my patient's hat and tried my best to get the real story out of him. And the real story was actually quite sad, and I will include that in the next blog post that I write. But it inspired me to think about how we process our feelings, and if we could attach shape and color to those feelings, maybe we could dive a little deeper into what they mean and how they're actually living inside of our bodies. So here is the next exercise of the Women's Wellness Toolkit, and it's called Big Feelings. So what I encourage you to do is get a large piece of paper. I know traditionally, if you've been following me for a while, I like to work in a book, and they're for the purposes of this exercise, the surface size isn't quite big enough if you just use a book. So the paper that I have is an old calendar, actually, like one of those big gigantic calendars that you can get at Staples, and I just use the back page of it. This is kind of a lesson also in a little bit of imperfection, and the fact that this isn't going to live anywhere. If you use a gigantic piece of paper, if you fold it up and put it in your book, that's great. But if you don't do that, you're just going to end up putting it in the recycling. So there's a little bit of that. These are my feelings, but this is also how I let them go. So my paper in the exercise that I've completed is like, I'll give you a kind of a scale version. So it's quite a large piece of paper, and after I'm done photographing it, I am just gonna tear it up and put it in the recycle bin. So here's the steps for this exercise. Gigantic piece of paper and whatever coloring materials you'd like to use. I use pastels. I really like them for their quick mark making, and you can get some texture and some layering of the colors in there. And I just started with picking 6 feelings that I was feeling, and I didn't know the words to them. So I used Brene Brown's feelings sheet that I'll also include the link to here. And I just kind of went through, and I immediately just chose 6. The first 6 that kind of popped out at me were the ones I went with, whether I was really feeling authentic about them or not. I let the process go. So big piece of paper, pastels, feeling sheet. And then I just started making marks based on those feelings. So I attached color to the particular feelings, and I just went with it. I just allowed my body and my hand and the colors to guide me. And what turned out in the end was something pretty beautiful and pretty revolutionary. So I did use the journal questions that I've provided here to go deeper into the feelings and the colors and possibly what they're meaning for me right now. And it unearthed some things that I didn't realize that I'd been feeling. I am 7 weeks postpartum, and I had been feeling a little bit of some of that unrest and that overwhelm, a little bit of short-temperedness, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. And so along with what my son was feeling and what I was feeling, this exercise proved to kind of unearth some things and guide me forward. So I hope that it does the same for you. And I would really love to see your creations. So if you do follow this exercise and you do end up working through it, I would love to see your work. Thanks for following. I'll see you again in 2 weeks.